The following is a CNN special report.
Winston Churchill famously said of Russia, "It is a riddle, wrapped in a mystery, inside an enigma." Prime Minister Churchill, meet Vladimir Putin.
He is really very much of a leader. He's been a leader far more than our president has been a leader.
He was a KGB agent. By definition, he doesn't have a soul.
Vladimir Putin is a thug and a murderer and a killer.
He's the richest man in the world. Hundreds of billions of dollars of wealth.
What does he want from Donald Trump?
Putin is going to eat him like a sandwich.
He'd rather have a puppet as president.
You're the puppet.
Just how powerful is he?
Putin has an untrammeled authority.
Hoorah!
I don't see any checks on his power.
So powerful, he rigged the American election?
Of course, Putin wanted Hillary Clinton to lose. He despised Hillary Clinton.
Whom would you like better?
Of the world!
While Russia celebrates,
За победу Дональда Трампа!
Americans ask, what does he want? And is he really the most powerful man in the world? December 5th, 1989. It was a cold night in Dresden, East Germany. And it would change the course of Vladimir Putin's life. The Berlin Wall had just fallen. All over East Germany, angry crowds roamed the streets, lashing out at symbols of communist rule. That night in Dresden, they found a target. The local KGB headquarters. A mob surrounded the building. As the hour grew later, the crowd grew larger. Inside, peering through the curtains, was a young KGB lieutenant colonel named Vladimir Putin.
He was terrified that they were going to storm the building.
Putin was a junior officer, but the boss was away. He was in charge.
The Berlin Wall had come down, police weren't going to help, and he called for instructions.
Desperate for help, Putin dialed KGB headquarters in Moscow, over and over again. Finally, one official told him simply, Moscow is silent.
And I think it felt like a deep betrayal to him.
Vladimir Putin was on his own. He went down into the bowels of the building and fired up the furnace.
He finds himself in the basement at a furnace shoveling documents as he hears demonstrations out on the street.
They are burning the secret files so fast that the furnace is blowing up.
Putin torched thousands of pages of KGB documents and secrets as the crowd closed in. With the fire still raging, Putin went outside and faced the mob. By himself. There are armed guards inside, he told them. They will shoot you.
And he's able to bluff his way out of it and tell the crowd, don't try it here, you're going to get hurt.
Putin's threat worked. The mob dispersed.
This is the drama that stays with Putin all the time. The fear of popular uprising.
Vladimir Putin quells that fear with absolute control. This is what control looks like. In one of the world's busiest cities, the streets are emptied for Vladimir Putin's motorcade. 12 million people simply disappear on Putin's inauguration day.
Владимир Владимирович Путин.
The event was perfectly produced for Russian television. Every detail flawlessly planned. Almost every detail. A few Russians did not follow the script.
Literally a block away from his inauguration was a cafe called Jean-Jacques, where the opposition liked to gather and drink wine and drink coffee. And the riot police descend on the cafe and start arresting people sitting at their tables outside, turning over tables, breaking cups and plates.
The crackdown was not shown on Russian television.
For 94% of Russians, their main source of news is television. If it didn't happen on television, it didn't happen.
Putin controls television.
There's absolutely no critical words about Vladimir Putin on the Russian airwaves. None, not one word.
Putin controls everything in Russia.
Putin has an untrammeled authority.
I don't see any checks on his power.
Минуту молчания.
He is able to make singular, rapid decisions. The absolutism there is unlike anything I've seen in Russia.
All that power is propped up by an astonishing approval rating, over 80%. And that's according to American pollsters.
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
But when the United States elected a new president, it looked like Russia had fallen for a new leader.
Победа Трампа будет праздник для всего человечества.
There were toasts all over Moscow,
За победу Дональда Трампа.
at the parliament known as the Duma, on talk shows,
Они молодцы.
and at bars.
We are the champions of the world.
But one man seemed utterly unsurprised by Trump's victory.
He's happy to take credit. And that means that he won the US election. The man who is simultaneously president of Russia and in charge of the United States.
Mr. Putin?
Trump impersonators are everywhere in Russia.
Я люблю Россию, но ты ничего не докажешь.
You're fired, you're fired, you're fired.
But it could be an American TV program that best describes the Putin-Trump relationship.
I think Putin views Trump as an apprentice.
At the heart of all this are some deadly serious questions. Does Vladimir Putin have some kind of hold over Donald Trump? Did he tamper with the American elections? I tried to ask him. Mr. Putin did not agree to answer my questions, but his closest aide, Dmitry Peskov, did.
The answer is very simple, no. You are humiliating yourself, saying that a country can intervene in your election process. America, a huge country, the most powerful country in the world, this is simply impossible.
We will get at the truth of all this, but to do that, we need to go back to the final days of the country Vladimir Putin loved.
I think that down deep in Putin, there is this sense of extraordinary humiliation over the collapse of the Soviet Union. Because it wasn't just the Soviet Union, it was the Russian Empire.
Putin returned home from his KGB posting in 1990 to a country he did not recognize. The USSR had been transformed by Mikhail Gorbachev and his policy of openness, known as glasnost.
A lot of things happened very quickly.
Big Mac is Big Mac. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola.
A romance with things Western.
Freedom came fast, and it exposed the rot at the heart of Soviet communism. Across the Soviet Union, hundreds of thousands of people began demanding democracy and national independence. It was once again what Putin feared most. The people rising up. And finally, the people won.
Tonight in Moscow at the Kremlin, the red flag of the failed Soviet Union at last came down, and the flag of Russia rose.
300 years of history erased.
Soviet institutions like the KGB simply ceased to exist.
Vladimir Putin views the breakup of the Soviet Union, as he said himself, to be the greatest geopolitical tragedy of the 20th century.
It was a traumatic time, and it sparked a profound change in Vladimir Putin. He became a politician, deputy mayor in his hometown of St. Petersburg. It was not a big job, but Putin clearly had big dreams. He commissioned this rarely seen documentary about himself. Presenting Vladimir Putin, the credits read, in power. Weirdly, the soundtrack is from the Broadway show Cats. The ambitious Putin may already have been looking toward Moscow because the Russian people were desperate for strong leadership. Under President Boris Yeltsin, the new democracy was a mess.
The entire Soviet system, it just collapsed.
The oligarchs, the men who profited on the spoils of communism, became fantastically rich.
Mercedes-Benz is selling more of its top-line cars in Russia than in all the rest of Europe.
But ordinary Russians were sinking into desperate poverty. There were dire food shortages, even starvation.
I don't know how to feed my kids without milk. I just don't know what we're going to do.
President Boris Yeltsin was in charge, but he seemed increasingly unstable.
He is drinking. He's barely being propped up.
Russians began calling for a new leader.
They were tired of the embarrassments of Yeltsin.
Waiting in the wings was Vladimir Putin. He had taken a job in Moscow in the Kremlin hierarchy, and he had risen through the ranks with lightning speed.
From city bureaucrat to Kremlin superstar.
He had just become acting prime minister when it became blindingly clear the country needed a new president.
So when Yeltsin was ready to topple over, and they settled on Putin because they knew that Yeltsin could retire and not be put in jail.
Boris Yeltsin was notoriously corrupt.